I have been a CNA for about a year now, and by the end of my CNA career, I will be a nurse. I specifically became a CNA to ensure that I love the nursing field and to make sure that I don't end up the nurse that doesn't know how to communicate correctly with their CNAs. I don't want to be the nurse that puts off a superior air either, because most of my aides are older than me, because I'm only 20 and a lot of the aides have already made this their career. I not only want to gain respect because I have been where they are, but I want to give the respect that they deserve. Everyone who deserves respect should get it. Specifically, though, the first thought that came to mind whenever I sat down and thought of a topic to write was the nurses that had already not listened to their CNAs simply because they don't understand that we are with the residents every single day, not just in 20-minute intervals like they are. We may have 10 residents apiece and they have 35 that day. We do different levels of care. I've personally seen what I didn't ever want to become within the first couple months on the job. A nurse not listening to her aides when they said a certain resident wasn't acting right. If we say that they are in pain, even if they can't communicate themselves, then it is smart to listen to the aides because we have seen all their emotions displayed on their face. The nurse may just not have seen it because they are not as close to the individual. Communication barriers and lack of trust can lead to the said resident passing away without a sound mind or comfort simply because the nurse didn't heed the warning that something was up. Reading all the articles online about interpersonal communication in the workplace, a lot of them were focused on the office place, not a hospital. Specifically, one talked about the influence of good communication in long-term care. This can vary from ethnic backgrounds, your educational history, skills, and abilities. More importantly, possibly, would be that your personality, your experiences, your upbringing, and maybe even your gender or sexuality may either strengthen your communication or be hurting it. This article focuses on Maslow's hierarchy of need chart and the way that it influences the personal variables that affects the way you communicate with others, not only in the professional setting, but at home as well. I really benefited from reading this article because it brought to light that specific people at work who seem difficult to deal with or difficult to speak with may just be on different levels of communication than I am. To quote the article, use of effective interpersonal communication strategies by nurses in both professional and personal settings may reduce stress, promote wellness, and therefore improve overall quality of life. This article briefly explores the concept of interpersonal communication as it relates to Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. Describes personal variables in the interaction of internal and external variables that may impact communication, and discusses possible causes, consequences, and effects of ineffective communication. Moreover, another article that I found was more about the need for communication throughout schooling and on the job, and it's shown through the need for communication courses in the actual nursing program, and then definitely as you go higher for your degrees. Not everyone is born with the aptitude for communicating clearly and efficiently, so that's why they add the classes to the curriculum. It's very important for the nurses to not only listen to the coworkers below them and above them, but to listen to the residents and the family of the residents. Just last week, an aide was telling me and the nurse about a certain resident declining and needing more and more assistance. She wasn't standing well, and what would have usually been the job of one aide helping her stand up was quickly turning into the job of 2 or 3 aides. Later in the day, the nurse called to help because the resident was trying to get up with her so she could do a treatment and had fallen over and hit her face on the ground. The resident was the same resident that the aide told us was needing more and more assistance. There was even a piece of paper, a stopwatch, which is another way that the nurses and aides communicate clearly, sitting on her desk with her signature on it. There are many, many ways to ensure that you communicate correctly and thoroughly with your coworkers, and the major one is making sure that you have respect for each other. If you're assuming that the person is speaking to you is wrong all the time, then you're not actually talking anything that they're saying, taking anything that they're saying seriously, or to heart. You're just assuming that you know better. You have to create an air of openness and trust and communicate clearly. In this essay, we've gone over the importance of moving up the corporate ladder to understand each other better, and Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the effects of your own experiences and feelings bring into the conversation and need for the needs for communications classes in the nursing school. I hope that this will not only reach my classmates, but some of the coworkers even need to hear this.